Okay, well, good morning, everybody. So, right now the time, it's pretty much almost 7 a.m. Just got to the trail right before 6 a.m. I'm under this tree here because it is raining a little bit, and I just want to prevent my camera from getting damaged. But I am, I guess, continuing my documentary on my growth and just again documenting myself each and every day so I can see the difference. This morning, I gotta say I'm very pleased with my decisions that I made. I actually wrote down in the journal a couple of days ago that I wanted to rise up in the morning every day before 6:20 a.m. That was a reasonable goal that I did because rising early is very important to me personally. I think it is something that is natural to my body, and it's the clock that I would like to live my life on. Rising early before anything else opens, so as soon as I wake up, everything that I do is basically for me, not for anyone else. I'm not heading to work. I'm not waking up early because I have to head to work for 6 a.m. It's me first, then everything else could continue. I get a moment and a chance to just be with myself. I get a moment to breathe, and I exercise, meditate, whatever it is. It's right after waking up. So nothing else. I'm not conditioning myself to give energy to anything else. Preferably the time that I truly would like to rise up and get myself ready to go exercise and meditate, stretch, because that's what I do in those hours. My preferred time, the actual preferred time, is actually 4 o'clock in the morning. I've done this multiple times before, waking up at 4, head to the gym for 5. Usually I get on the Stairmaster and do that until 7 a.m. I'm out of the gym by 7 a.m. And if I want to stay and stretch after, 8 o'clock, which is still quite early. That sets me up for my day. It sets me up with my mood. And I know 100% that today, in that present day, I gave myself some time. And in fact, I gave myself the time as soon as I woke up, which is, in my opinion, the right way. I know there isn't a right way, of course, but why am I waking up to just play the rat race and then whatever energy that's left I can have for myself? I don't want to do that. So I'm very proud to say that this morning I did reach one of my goals. I kept it a little realistic because I felt that if the goal was to wake up at 4 a.m. every single day, that's going to be harder to reach because there are times where we got in late. There are emergencies that we had to go tend to. There's a lot of different areas that are asking for our time. There's a lot of different parties, energies, systems, people that are asking of our time. That is something to be realistic about. So I decided, rather than just writing down in the journal, you must wake up at this specific time every single day, that's going to discourage me if I miss a day. And I might let go of that goal a lot quicker. Because now I'm feeling pressure. Now it's no longer something that is for the betterment of myself, or it's no longer something that I can actually say is making me feel calmer. It's now adding more pressure onto me. And that's not the way that we want to go. I understand that we sometimes want to make changes, and I understand completely that we would like to see some movement within our lives. But when it comes to when we're doing it out of a place of punishment and that rigid thinking, it usually does the quite opposite. It'll either, again, bring you more shame internally to live in your hips, or you're just going to give up as a whole. And you'll never actually know if you got there because you only use one type of method, which was like the strict method, the punishment method. If I don't wake up, I gotta do 100 push-ups. I mean, be honest. Be honest. You know, I'm somebody who exercises quite regularly, and even I wouldn't go doing 100 push-ups. Like, unless I'm training for something specific, but I mean, really. It's just going to discourage you. And the reason why it's going to discourage you is because you've convinced yourself that the only way to accomplish something is with deep pain and pressure and this strict way of living. So the whole point is, I've sort of it's tricking your mind in a way. So I suggest, if you have a goal, try not to let it sound so rigid. Oh, you must wake up by 4 a.m. every day. Okay. Well, this is clearly that's the end goal for you. That's not the starting point. That's where you want to get to. And wherever you want to get to, we all know we don't really have a say in what time that happens. As long as we're staying consistent, we'll get there, but we can't actually know when that's going to become habit and no longer something that we have to actively remind ourselves to do. Instead, I decided to write down in my journal that I would like, this is what I wrote, I said I would like to wake up before 6:20 a.m. I already know this is something that's completely doable. I already wake up naturally at 6 a.m. Sometimes it'll go to 7, and other days, depending on the night that I've had before, I'm gonna wake up at 8. And other times, surprise, surprise, I'll wake up at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. And this all depends on what my week was like, how much stress am I holding on to, what my diet is like, what my responsibilities that I had to fulfill the day prior or the week prior to me now waking up at 11 a.m. You really have to look at everything. So that's a message that I have for myself today, and that's a message that I'm going to spread out to the world today. If you truly want to have control over yourself, over your mind, over your autonomy, you should most likely let go of that rigid way of thinking. That rigid way of thinking was taught to us, and a lot of us just kept walking with it within our lives. If we don't get something right the first time, it's like, oh my God, this must tie to my self-worth. Okay, calm down. Is the goal actually for you to improve yourself? Is the goal to just receive validation from people? Oh, well, you know, if I tell people that I wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, they're going to think I'm productive. Or if I tell people that I run 100 miles a day, they're going to think I'm productive. Now I could get my worth. This is really where we're going to have to sit back and be conscious. I really am starting to recognize how important it is to be present in your body, to know right now what position that your feet are in, to know what your hands are doing, to know how you're breathing, to know how you are speaking, your tone. Are you speaking in an aggressive manner, or are you just speaking like how you would when you're relaxed? That is really something that I felt needed to be said. The whole point is, I am very grateful to be up and to be out in nature. I allowed myself time. I did not even have to wake up and do a strict routine, you know, because I also believe that me convincing myself that I must visit the gymnasium, like that's the only source, that's the only resource there is for me to exercise and move my body and get my heart rate moving. And again, that thinking is just going to lead you into a prison. That rigid thinking, and you're going to feel like you have less choice. That's going to make you resentful, and it could also just make you give up as a whole. Because if you're not meeting this very extreme, rigid goal, again, you're tying it to your self-worth, and you don't want to keep reminding yourself how you're failing at something, so you'll just give up instead of just adjusting the goal. That might be something that someone needed to hear. You know, it's not necessarily the goal itself. That goal that you wrote down might be the angle where you see yourself. Okay, you're doing some, you're envisioning yourself. That's manifestation. You can see the vision, right? You can see yourself living that certain way, having that lifestyle, having that discipline, having that patience, whatever it is. But you might need to adjust the goal that you want to meet currently. You got to meet yourself where you're at, for one. Don't try to convince yourself that you're someone else. What you see yourself doing is intuition, not what it is today. What you see yourself doing is intuition, not what you're actually doing now. How you see yourself is intuition. It's telling you, actually, you can be an individual who sits and gives time to themselves. You can be an individual who sets boundaries that protects you. You can be a person who learns to express themselves in much more creative ways eventually. That might not be where you're at in this present moment. So we take what we got, see where you are, and work with it. Now you're being honest. Now you can actually get the ball rolling. Now you're not going to set yourself up to give up and completely forget about this goal that you had in 2 weeks. We want sustainability. We want something that's going to stay and last, not these temporary I'm not even going to call them a fulfillment. Not these habits and movements and conversations that just keep us in a rigid way of thinking. It's not something that's really benefiting you. And I thought I'd share that with you today. You know, there's no shame in it either. Like I said, learning that you may have been behaving, speaking, or reacting in ways that wasn't the healthiest for you. The next step is not to go to the shame, people. Let go of the shame. It's to learn. You actually have to see where you're at now. You work with it. Then you find the resources that can help an individual that's in your unique position. And you try to apply that to your life. You see what fits, you keep what fits, and you see what doesn't work, and you leave behind what doesn't work. And that's how we get the ball rolling. That's how progress is made. And progress is a good thing, but progress isn't always linear. And like I said, people, you know, your story is your unique story. It's proof that you existed here, and whatever your experiences are, it is valuable. I want to share something with you. So, I guess this topic would be a lot about living in the past and the past triggering you. Have you ever had a moment or an experience that did not sit with you right. You know, maybe you experienced some sort of injustice, or maybe you then realized that your well-being was not a priority at this time. And whatever it is, well, I'm going to show you this first because it's so beautiful. I'm just getting distracted, but I'm going to keep this right there because I don't want to hold that. But we'll look at this real quick. Look how beautiful these wildflowers are. That's what grows when you leave things alone. Okay. Anyways, or maybe you're triggered by the way that you have behaved. Maybe you've done something or you said something to someone that, looking back, you really wouldn't have done it again. If you had to relive the moment, it's not something that you would actively choose. So usually when we have those sorts of experiences, what we can then expect later on, doesn't really matter when, is these memories will tend to haunt an individual. And you have to remain curious. This is something that I really will push to everybody who's alive and conscious and breathing, is remaining curious will save you in so many different ways. It'll keep you from a rigid way of thinking, and it helps you get to the truth. It helps you get to the bigger picture. When you start to remove yourself, even if you were the one who experienced it, you start to remove yourself and the other people and their personalities, and you look at the actions, and then you ask yourself, where is it stemming from? That's very important. So going back to my point, I've experienced something like that recently, where I can't seem to get my mind off of an injustice. I can't seem to get my mind off of a memory of my own. And I don't want to say it's haunting me, because I am allowing myself to think of it. I don't run away. And this is a memory that, for me personally, it brings up a little bit of shame, which I know I can't hold on to. What my intentions are is to find out where the root of that shame is, so I can then release it and transmute that shame into an energy that can actually help me, you know, alchemy. This particular memory rises up every once couple of days, and I notice that when I am, again, not giving myself the attention that I need, I'm not staying true to what my words say that I do want. I'm not aligning with the life that I do want to live. I do recognize this, that when I'm not in alignment, when I'm moving out of alignment, these memories come in my head. But they come in my head with, again, such a rigid way of thinking. And usually, it'll go along the lines of something like, oh, they won, you lost, or you should have known better, or you're a fool and you gave so much away. And yesterday I caught it, because yesterday when I woke up, I stayed in the house. I did not even go outside until hours later. I was dehydrated, not drinking any water. Right now I'm dehydrated. I was smoking the vape and just actively replaying events in my life and doom scrolling on the internet. to then confirm to myself that I'm the loser that my mind is trying to convince myself that I am. I'm looking up videos like, you know, related to the experience that I had. And I'm like, see, you should have known this. What? And I'm like, I laugh now because I really realize just how detrimental that is. It's like you've had an experience that was uncomfortable to you, and now again, you thinking that the way of getting you out of this is by punishing yourself some more. I mean, that experience itself felt like a punishment, right? Which we do know that it may have been just something that you needed to wake you up and put you back into that state of consciousness. So I really don't like to view it as humiliation, or because again, these are just singular. It's just how you perceive the situation and how you perceive yourself and where you really think that your worth comes from. And if you do believe that in order to be worthy, or in order to be respected, or in order to live a life that is peaceful and authentic to you, that you somehow have to be making no mistakes, is actually hilarious. And this is why it's so important. You gotta catch it. You have to catch when you're doing it actively. I now recognize, like, that's what staying present is. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm gonna go exercise. That's when I'm staying present, because that's when I feel the best, is when I'm exercising. I'm like, okay, I'm staying present. But then what happens after I stop exercising? Should you just continue to be clouded and in your own delusion and not just seeing things for the way it is? But this is really the tricks that our minds play on us. And again, if you want to make any active change, you have to be conscious. You have to be conscious of everything that you're doing.